All right. So good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for a new series of a new session of the E-Meet Your Design and Fashion School series. The idea of this series is for you to interact with the top management of each school. Uh, Keep your options open to private design schools and fashion schools, and also save money by applying to few specific schools that you should consider. Right, these are the top schools, very well placed and very important schools for you to consider as an option. Now, I've done a session previously on private design and fashion schools to consider in 2022. So if you've missed that, please go onto our YouTube channel and have a look at this particular uh, webinar. Today, we are very happy to have um, MIT Institute of Design. MIT Institute of Design is part of the MIT ADT University, which is based in Pune. And to represent MIT Institute of Pune of Design, we have three people here. We have Dr. Nachiket Thakur, who's the director of MIT Institute of Design. We have Mr. Ashley and Mr. Ishwar, who handle admissions, right? So Dr. Nachiket would be talking to you on the overall vision, or why is it important for you to consider MIT Institute of Design. And so just to introduce Dr. Nachiket in a little more detail, um, he's a chief strategist and executioner when it comes to transformational experience in various industries, right? So he's worked with as a director of innovation and entrepreneurship development at Science and Technology Park, Pune, and he's worked in various aspects across domains as well. All right. Um, so I would want to keep as much time to for him to speak about MIT. So beyond beyond just the basic introduction, I would before I hand over to him, I would just like to mention one more thing. If you're interested in finding out more about MIT ID, please come to DQ Edge. On DQ Edge, there's a listing of MIT ID, and you can click on that for a little more information. And then, of course, if you'd like to apply to MIT ID, there is an application link which will also be shared with you. If you are attending this session on Zoom, this will be shared in the chat. And if you are attending this on YouTube Live, then it would be shared in the description of the YouTube video. Okay. Dr. Nachiket, over to you. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Dan. Thank you for the introduction. Just like to add a couple of things to just keep the perspective clear listening. I did my master's in design from IIT Mumbai and worked in the industry for more than 21 years. So the reason why I'm saying this is that the industry experience becomes a very strong point in mentoring the learners, and that's that's as a philosophy at MIT Institute of Design. We have almost 50% plus faculties which have come from such a background. So that's important when we look at how the learning, teaching, mentoring happens. So that's a brief of that. So what I'll do is I know many of you would have gone through this time and again, but I'll still to bring the entire people who are listening on the same platform. I would like to touch a bit upon why design. I know it's a repeat, but some couple of slides to get into the flow. I would. Can you allow me to share screen?
Yes, it's allowed. Please go on. Yep.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, it's visible. You can put it on presentation mode.
Yeah. So To start off with, we are part of, so MIT Institute of Design is part of the university which is called MIT Art, Design and Technology University, which is a state private university, started in 2016 as a university, but MIT Institute of Design started 16 years back as an autonomous institution. Uh, just to give you a perspective in terms of what we mean by what design means to us, is just a lowdown on what art and design is. So art produces is a series. Art is there for a particular person's sake, where design is on a contract-rated service. Art is subjective. Design needs considerable objectivity to do things. Design enters into intelligent compromises. So the more intelligence as a thought process is required when you get into the field of design. Design is always oriented towards the feasible. Design must be comprehensible. So all these are uh, points which all of us should keep in mind when you try to enter and understand the field of design. Is design a science? Yes, there's a connection to it. So when you say science is logical, when you say design, it is intuitive. Design has a lot of imagination. Design addresses constraints. Design looks at functions. Design looks at aesthetics. It is evolutionary phase. It's not uh, a mathematics. It's not only 1 + 1 2. There are many solutions which come out of design. The nature of design, design starts with the unknown. So admitting that we don't know the solution and valid solution will emerge from the design process is the crux of what we believe when we teach design. We believe that design will create alternatives. It's not only about choosing between multiple options which exist. So it's not that the options are out there and we just pick one. Design, we help to create options. We also believe very strongly that the thinking is not the only one which is prevalent these days. So design thinking, we believe, is more to do with design doing. So we have to get into the act of designing, not only think. Uh, Design is a multidisciplinary activity which we very strongly nurture and help, which connects a different spectrum, multiple spectrums of things. The design learned, I'm not saying taught, learned by students on the campus is by understanding multiple activities, multiple disciplines, so that their overall development happens. And of course, the emotional connect, the EQ, is very important when we look at the nature of design, what we teach. When you come to a design school like MIT ID, we will help you to create a sense of role play. So the quotient of empathy will go up, the ability to frame problems. So correct problem definition will be one very important asset which you will take with you. The love for arts and culture, sense of culture, is what will be inculcated as you go along as a process of learning. uh, the sense of imagination, the ability to constantly think to be different, is what you will gain as a designer. And of course, as we were speaking earlier, the integration of the left and right brains is what will seamlessly happen on the campus while you take the journey of being a designer. Different opportunities, I don't need to go into that. There are multiple things which can be done in the field of design. The one last thing from this standpoint is the role of designer is changing. So it's not only about designing a particular thing. It is designer as a strategist, as a forecaster, as a journalist. When I say journalist, it's all about telling a story. It's about how you reach out to your stakeholders. Designer is now an entrepreneur. He plans things, he executes things, he educates even the clients he has to educate. He also indulges in creating policies, and he is of course a business leader if he has to be successful. So there are many design verticals available. So you should be open to these changing definitions of design profession and be ready for it. Upon your own liking, your own ability, you can choose. So this is how what the designer's role is. And I think this is a most exciting time for choosing design as a career option, which all of you are here to listen to. So typically, what when you so MIT Institute of Design is one, but typically what we should look for while selecting the institute for design education. Trying to look at what roots the institution comes from. So what's the legacy of the people behind the whole, the entire umbrella of the education system. So at MIT Institute of Design, we are part of a 44-year-old institution, group of institutions. So the legacy is very strong. The teaching pedagogy is very well established, very strong. We have a very good legacy. The most strong point of what MIT ID stands for is at present around 80 plus permanent faculties and around 180 plus visiting faculties. I think that's probably very few institutions collectively will have that kind of strength, which is a clear indication of how the learners intellectual activities are taken care for. The program and curriculum is well evolved, designed and curated by the industry veterans in the education field. We are very proud to say that one of our founding fathers is uh, Professor H. Kumar Vyas, who was also instrumental in establishing National Institute of Design. So he was the father figure for us way back in 2004 when the genesis of MIT ID happened. So that's very strong infrastructure, program, curriculum we have. So you should also look at all these points: cost of education, what is when you spend a rupee, what you get. I think that is one important thing. We have a lot of university affiliations from the international universities, where we have a very successful uh, exchange programs, which is there in the sixth semester. So in the bachelor's program, sixth semester is what you have as a what is it, exchange, and of course placement track record. So all these points are important while when you choose a design school. So seeing is believing. So we would uh, want you to visit us. So please go on our website. We have a couple of open days organized in the coming weeks. So if you are around Pune, Mumbai, or if you can specifically come down, we will be more than happy to host you, to take you around whatever we are saying. Some of quick student work in different domains: transportation, wayfinding, signages, product design, animation, retail and exhibition design, UI UX design, graphic design in terms of print, and also of course fashion. The slide is not there at the moment. So this is where we come from in terms of the institute. I'll quickly take you through the organization which we are. So we are part of this 125-acre sprawling campus in Pune on the Solapur Road, ahead of Hadapsar, for those who are aware of the Pune as a location. We have been fortunate to be part of this big conglomerate of institutes, and since 2016, which is just 6 years back or 5 years back, we got ourselves accredited as a university. We have been achieving a lot of laurels in terms of being the best university campus, being the what to say, torchbearers of innovation with Atal incubation ranking. The is under engineering category, but so the multidisciplinary aspect comes in very nicely in this. When I was saying the overall development of you as a person, for the interdisciplinary part, is these list of institutions, around 16 institutions which we have um, side by side. So just up about say 500 meters from each other, we have all these institutions. There are projects which people do across the institution. There are a lot of multidisciplinary activity happens. So Institute of Design student does a project for bioengineering, does a project for food technology, does a project for Manet. So the very rich, diversified inputs which students get when they learn in this campus. So that's a very interesting and unique thing which MIT Institute of Design offers at this campus. When you talk about the vision of the university, it's very, very important when we talk about what the institution stands for. So MIT Art, Design and Technology University, under which MIT ID is located, aspires to be a university of eminence by combining art, design and technology. So we aim to have a transformative impact on the student and so the society through holistic education, multidisciplinary research ethos, innovation, and entrepreneurial culture. So we have amongst the top 10 Atal incubation centers in the country, which is residing with us. So this vision is what we take forward. So we have an internal mechanism which is called KRIA, Center for Research and Innovation for Young Aspirants, which helps students to take up a venture or create whatever is in the thought process, to convert that into a prototype and that into a venture. So all this ecosystem is available for students right joins. So that becomes a very enterprising place to be in. Coming to the Institute of Design, we have a very strong vision and mission which we have set for ourselves to nurture a design, research, and education ecosystem, to create professionals who are not only works in a company but are job creators with planet-centric perspective using cutting-edge technology. So I think this vision makes us stand apart in the many institutions which are there around. Just one small glimpse of what our institution is: around 1,400 plus students, 4 verticals, these many programs, and so on and so forth. These are some courses which we have. You will get to see details of these on our website, between MDes, BDes, some diploma programs, and of course a PhD program. Our illustrious team of HODs of different disciplines, the leadership team. I think this sets us. We have a lot of activities which we do.
So 1 second, there's a question. Are you changing slides? Are you showing some slides or?
Oh, sorry. I think the stop share did not work. Thanks for mentioning, but I almost, did you see the slide before?
No, we've not seen this.
Oh God. I'll just briefly go back again.
Sure,
so
sure.
This is our sprawling campus, 125 acres. We have a lot of laurels under our belt in the last 6 years, as 5 years, when we got converted into a university, top institute in the country, the Atal Incubation, the Innovation Institute Innovation Council by HRD. All that is what we already have got in the last 5 years. We have these many institutions which students can cross learn. So MIT Institute of Design students can do a project in bioengineering and food technology. School of Engineering itself has 9 different disciplines under engineering, be it IT, computer science, mechanical, civil, and all that. So the cross learning opportunities are immense, and for that, as a vision, I think we have a very strong vision for our university, which helps in creating holistic education with multidisciplinary ethos to create innovation and entrepreneurial culture. For this, we have very strong systems in place, schemes in place, where we do nurture students' ideas to convert that into their ideas into reality by supporting them in terms of technology, even money. So there are schemes available for students which helps them to create their prototypes, and we are among the top 10 incubators. So Atal Incubation Center, it's a Government of India supported enterprise which helps create ventures. So we have a very strong nurturing bed for creating what is it, unicorns, if you may say, where this is a seeding process which happens as part of the entire infrastructure. Coming to Institute of Design, we have taking cue from the university vision. We aspire to nurture a design and research and education ecosystem to develop future-ready professionals who are job creators than with planet-centric perspective using cutting-edge technology. I think that becomes a strong ethos for all learners who come on the campus to look at things. Different what is it, testimonials in terms of how we stand for. the different programs which we offer in industrial communication, experience, fashion, management, and diploma level programs. I think when you visit our website, all this is listed very elaborately. Even we don't mind sharing the curriculum, because we strongly believe that only having a curriculum doesn't mean that education can be done. You need people to do that. So for that, we have very strong team. So these are uh, HODs of different disciplines. We have 11 disciplines which we have on the campus. So very strong support system or ecosystem which we have created around these people who become the backbone of the entire institute, uh, supported by almost 70, 75 faculties. So totally around 85 plus is what our current strength is of the faculties, uh, mm, backed by the leadership team. So Dr. Anand Chakradev and Professor Dimant Panchal were part of the foundation team who started the institute way back in 2006, and I'm joined 4 years back to join the team to take things further. Um, to support different activities, we have a very strong base of centers of excellence, which students can work with faculty, industry in multiple areas. If you see the list, that right from craft, bamboo, design for society, immersive lab, camera studios, shooting studios, interaction studios, material research labs. So there are multiple things which students get to experience as part of the ecosystem. I think that's what I had to say till this point in time, and I would be more than happy to take up any questions or discuss anything under the sun, if I may say so. So
Fantastic.
over to you.
Yeah, so thank you. A very interesting presentation there. I think there's a lot of activities happening on campus. Something that I thought was very different is the interdisciplinary aspect, right? The makerspace where your students can really interact with students from other groups, the engineering groups as well, to come up with things. But how do you all really facilitate that kind of interaction? Because generally the schools are very separate in the way they do things. So how do you all
Okay.
facilitate
So
things of that?
wonderful question. Um, just one example, today's example. The head of food technology school calls up that she and her master student has created a new fruit drink, fruit juice, and they are typically core process people who work out different permutation combinations for processed food. Now they are saying that they're about to patent the formulation, but for that, how do you present it to the customer in a good way? So we uh, create that as a, for example, there's a packaging course which will start from 10th of March for our masters and bachelor students of graphic design. So they will be working on this particular project as part of their academic program for designing a packaging for that juice. So that becomes one of the student projects which happens in the design school. Similarly, when a design school student is working on a medical equipment, and on a conceptual level he makes it, but he wants to understand how the technicalities work. So the bioengineering team uh, chips in from that angle. When all this happens and somebody wants to create this as a venture, then we go to Atal Incubation Center. So these kind of what to say, moving or looking at different aspects is very common with us.
Fantastic. There's a question from Aruna R, who is asking, immersive media appears to be a unique specialization.
Yeah.
Could you please give us more information about that?
Sure. So uh, immersive media as a discipline is quite exciting, and the industry needs a different set of uh, thought process to take things further. how immersive media is what to say ruling the industry is in terms of both entertainment as well as entertainment, education, and industry experience. So there are companies which come to us for doing things for multiple domains. So we teach them AR, the augmented reality, virtual VR, virtual reality, and take them through the conceptual framework as well as the technology behind it. So the Google Lens, the HoloLens, Oculus, all that is a lab which we already have. So they create scenarios, they create things which help. Say, for example, one project a student did was for uh, working out an operation for a baby uh, completely through AR and VR. That's where the immersive media thing for medical industry is very highly progressing these days. For entertainment, there's no limit. So there are many things which people are working with us for creating immersive media experiences. You're on mute.
Yeah, that's very interesting that you mentioned this, because the way we are seeing is that the whole trend is changing to a more immersive medium, and of course Facebook publicized this and propagated this a lot. Um, so do you think that's a very, very futuristic area to be in for students who are pursuing design?
Uh, I don't know if saying a yes or no is good or bad. It's not too futuristic, to be honest. It is definitely trending. So ऐसा नहीं है कि वो 20 साल के बाद industry open up होगा तो आप क्या करें? It's not that.
Okay.
So this industry is there today. So if some students want to take up, they have opportunities even after 2 years of their education stint. So, and it is growing. So it is just establishing because it is amalgamation of multiple things. So you need to know technology. You need to know the you should to be empathized with what the industry wants. How do you create that as a solution? So that is there today. And the way this with the speed which the technology is moving fast as a curve, I think creating content for that technology is the most imperative part. And uh, and there has to be multiple of things. So मैंने आज कुछ बनाया तो 10 दिन में obsolete हो जाएगा. So from that perspective, the immersive media as a discipline is there to stay for long because it's just started and it is not too futuristic.
Phenomenal. I like that. That's a very interesting perspective, because I get a lot of questions from parents who say, which field has more scope, right? And what you mentioned just now is that the scope is there today, and there is a possibility of scope in the future. But how would you advise parents to really guide their children, or children to decide what branch to take? Because you do have a whole array of branches to take, right? So how would you kind of advise them if they are not very clear yet?
So if you're looking at the 12th students who are wanting to bachelors, so let's talk about bachelors first. Was your question that it was bachelors or masters?
Primarily bachelors.
Okay. So from bachelor standpoint, I personally feel that you should, as students wanting to enter design, you should be at this juncture be very open. If you are in 11th or 12th, you should not worry too much about which discipline. I'm purely talking about from the MIT standpoint, because at MIT, for example, you don't have to get into a discipline from day one. You choose a discipline at the end of the first year. So because whatever you hear, even if what I'm saying, it is a hear and say, you have not experienced it as a student. So from a standpoint of choosing what I like, it is good to spend the foundation year very nicely and then select. So that's a very philosophical way of looking at it. Practically, there's one thought process which says that give me jobs today. What is the trend? So believe me, 4 years is a huge time to shift a trend these days. So today, if you ask me, yes, there are a couple of disciplines which have slightly more jobs than the rest. But what in a design school you should try to understand is that you, for the bachelor's level, you try to get into a mindset. Mind frame is what you build in your 4 years of design education, and you are a very good critical problem solver. You are very strong with empathy. You know a particular discipline because you have taken your what is it specialization in that, but that should not bother you. There are up to number of cases where people have done, for example, transportation design, and that student is a very famous fashion photographer. From my own student who did transportation design, which was very, very vehicle, very hard on sketching, rendering, digital skills, conceptualizing, but he's a very famous fashion photographer. There are people who did product design and they are good animators. There are animation students who have done who are doing product design right now. So that cross pollination is there. When you choose a 4 year bachelor's program, it is on one stage good enough to just decide that you're doing a design course for 4 years. At the end of the first year, you are able to choose a field. That is what I would say at the moment. But if there are specific questions in terms of, जैसे इंजीनियरिंग में बोलते हैं कि मैं आईटी करूं या मैकेनिकल करूं या सिविल करूं, from that standpoint there are strong disciplines like product design as a big chunk, graphic design as another chunk, and UX is another chunk. So these are the three highly chunked things. People cross pollinate. Another very important thing which you should remember as parents and students, in today's world only bachelor's doesn't suffice. You will have to do some or the other masters, because the competition is so hot that you need to upgrade yourself into a specialization. So you should not worry. Do a 4 year course, look at what you have learned, and then decide which direction to go. In which case, for masters, yes, it is very imperative to decide what is your liking, what is your ability when you choose a discipline for masters. But for bachelors, you should not worry too much.
All right. Cool. So that's a very interesting answer. Um, right. So another question is from Kirtana G. Okay, there are questions on the admissions aspect of that and the exam dates. I'll come back to those questions, but more related to the program and how it works. So Kirtana G is asking, according to the NEP, we can take up a subject completely unrelated to our degree subjects. Does MIT offer this option?
Yeah. So interesting question. For the batch which we are talking for right now, that batch will get this option from the second year of their curriculum. So after 2 years from now, where they can choose. So there will be electives, bunch of electives which they can pick up. So for example, a transportation design person can take up singing as a elective, or maybe fashion design as an elective, or accessories design as an elective. That is possible, and the learning is very much there today also in our curriculum. But the curriculum is also evolving. From this batch which is talking to us right now, it will be what to say. They will have that option to choose. Why only unrelated? They can also choose majors and minors. So if you get a degree of product design as major, and you do interior space or furniture design as a minor, that's also possible. So you pick and choose subjects. That option is there with MIT, very much there.
All right. So I hope that answers your question, Kirtana. Sanchit Ghoshal is asking about the BDES animation program offered. Could you elaborate a little more on that?
So Sanchit, I think Sanchit Ghoshal is asking that question for BDES animation.
Yes.
It's a pretty evolved course where students get to work on different kinds of animation, right from the traditional character animation where you physically do character building and then you do a stop motion animation, or a very high-end technology-based animation where everything is 3D digital, even to a layer of metaverse, which is happening, even having the fourth dimension or a third dimension with respect to HoloLens and Oculus as a VR entity. We also have within the animation program, we have game design as a program where students can take up projects for working on game design specifically, right from the technical aspects to the conceptual to the story building. All that is offered, right from shooting, what is it, mixing. All these are from the technical side also are taught. Plus, the base of it being the thought process. How would you evolve a story? How do you tell a story? For whom that will be? All that is very systematically part of the entire course.
Right. And I guess, yes, so we saw that during the design hackathon that we had in November, we saw quite a few of your faculty were mentors, and your students were mentors to the participants of the design hackathon, specifically in game design. So that was an interesting thing. And I don't think too many colleges across India offer game design as a, as
Yes.
an area in specific. So that's an interesting aspect. Um, right. Uh, there are more questions on the admission process, but I would like you to, before we get into those, I would just like to talk to you about the industry interactions, right? What are the types of opportunities that your students get for industry interactions through their program?
Wonderful. So there are multiple levels. I'll start with the academic course interaction, uh, where uh, they do small classroom projects with industry mentors. So, for example, in a course on technically complex products, for example, uh, the one of the activities is to break down a particular device and understand the mechanism of that particular object and try to conceptualize something based upon that particular mechanism. Some other product. So if you break down uh, what to say hair dryer, using that principle, what other product you can build. That's the typical format of the course. Now for that, so that's a typical uh, a 4 week or a 6 week course. So just to elaborate, at many schools including ours, we have a block teaching system. So six weeks is what one particular course gets taught, where student can dive in vertical, horizontal, everything, and evolve the solution of what the course stands for. So this technically complex part, for example, there is an industry uh, mentor who comes in to interact with the students from, say, Philips, who is making hair dryers from Philips. So that's where is the first small interaction which happens, which you get to understand how a hair dryer is physically made, how the design happens, what the technology behind it, what is a what to say logistics behind it, all that. So that's one small level of interaction is that. Then we have three internships, one summer, one winter, and one graduation project internship. So in these three cases, 2 months for a winter internship, 1 month for a winter internship, 2 months for a summer internship is what students get to go between their second and fourth year. That's what they go and work with the industry. So that is the direct what to say interaction where they have the last 5 months of their curriculum in BDES is slated for industry internship plus graduation project. So they get absorbed in a company where they do activities which are told to them by that particular company, and in addition they have to do a graduation project. So that is another level of interaction. Third level of interaction is where we have industry visits, almost around 4 to 5 industry visits per semester. So if you look at 6 semesters in a discipline, second, third, fourth year, the student gets to go for, on an average, around 2 to 3 industry visits of the related field, just as a visit. So as we speak today, for example, there is a visit from the graphic design team to a studio which makes signages, designs and executes signages. So a batch of 60 students are traveling today to look at how it happens in a signage design and execution company. So these are the kind of different level of interactions which students have with the industry.
All right, interesting. Um, right. So I think that's great. I think now we can get into the questions related to the admission process. Some of the questions here. So on YouTube, Chaitanya is asking. There's only one sample paper for the BDes on MIT's website. Are there more papers available? Sample papers. Um, Maybe if the admissions team can
Yeah.
answer that.
There's only one sample paper, Dion.
Okay.
Yeah. There's only one sample paper. The reason being, please don't get influenced by that sample paper, because what will come to you is completely different. So that's only because such questions arise. That's why we have put one. But if you see 5 papers, 5 years, there's no similarity whatsoever, other than the font which we use for making the paper.
All right.
There is no format. There is no 20% questions on this, 10% on that. As a kuch nahi. So it is totally what to say, to an extent misleading. So
Okay, so you got that. I hope that you're expecting the unexpected in the
correct,
paper.
correct. So just on that count, I would like to tell the students, you have to be yourself. This is the first thing which I'm sure you also will be telling the students. Uh, and if you be yourself, I think there is no problem in cracking the exam, because there is no rocket science. There is no right and wrong. So there are very few questions in the paper which is right or wrong. So if you have a mathematics question 2 plus 2, it is 4. But we don't have any questions like that in the paper. Very few. So don't worry about that. It's your own perspective, how you look at things, how you are different from others, is what should be seen in the way you answer the paper.
Fantastic. So Stephen Samuel has a question. He says, will the test be online or offline? Because he's currently out of India.
Actually, do you want to answer that? I'll add after you say.
Yeah, most probably the entrance exam going to be offline, because now things are back to normal. So that's what we are hoping. So most probably it will be offline.
Yeah. So it will be offline, but on a system. So it will not be paper exam mostly.
All
So
right.
it will be at a center.
Yes, sir. We have around 15 to 16 centers across India. Yeah. All major cities. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay. So that's good. There's a follow-up question. If he applies under the NRI quota, would he have to take part in the entrance exam, or studio test, or interview, or is there a separate entrance process for the NRI students?
There's a separate process for the NRI students. So generally, for the NRI students, we call them in the month of May. Okay, we follow up with them, and they directly give the second round. That is the portfolio round. So they have to mail their portfolio to us, and the second round will happen online directly. So they don't have to go through, the first round, that is the DAT exam, and they directly give the second round.
All right. So, Stephen,
and that will be online. That will be online.
Right. So, Stephen, I hope that answers your question. Anushka Moharana is asking, the studio test is planned during the first and second week of May during the CBSE Term 2 exams. So, would there be any considerations?
Yeah, see, when the date clashes, so we are flexible enough, to work on that. So if something like this happens, we definitely come up with the alternative.
All right. So all those who are interested, you all will have alternatives. Nothing to worry about. All right. Um, there's a question from Kirtana G. Does MIT offer hostel facilities? If yes, is it on campus or off campus?
Yes, we have hostel facility. We have a huge campus. It is 135 acres campus, and we have separate hostel for girls and separate hostel for boys. Hostel is in the campus. So yes, we do have hostel facility, and it is specialization wise. So when I say specialization wise, means the hostel for design students, only design students are there in that hostel. Only design students.
All right. All right. Vishwak S has a question. Would there be questions on general knowledge in the test, in the entrance test?
General knowledge, because it's the name itself says, it's design aptitude test. So in that aptitude test, we check the general knowledge, and we check your communication. We check your presence of mind, because we ask situation based questions. So on that we check your presence of mind. And yes, obviously general knowledge will be a part of that. Yes.
So please understand, general knowledge for what is happening in Ukraine might not be there. If that answers the question. So there will be relevant. So it's not just for the sake of asking a question in GK.
I think Dr. Nachiket got disconnected. Right. Okay.
Yeah, he's back. Yeah.
He's back.
Yes, sir.
So you're mute, sir.
Yes, you're back. You're back.
Mute.
So yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So got your point. That I mean, you got disconnected for a bit. So we got what we understood is that there will be general knowledge relevant to certain areas, probably
Correct.
related to design or something relevant.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. See, but I'll tell you the purpose for a GK question is from a standpoint where see the empathy as an important aspect of design needs you to have a holistic view of your surroundings, holistic view of the where you live as a society. So from that standpoint, there would be questions where we test the understanding of you as a person. So no, there would be some. I think we can go to the next question.
Absolutely. Right. So there's a question from Anaya. How were the placements for the last batch?
So to be very honest, placement as a topic is in any institution. I'm not saying only MIT Institute of Design. The 25% the top 25% students get what they want. That's for sure. So you have to always aspire to be in that 25%. Then only you will get the best of the companies. As far as the people who wanted jobs, around 75+% students have got jobs. When I say who wanted, because there are around 50% of the students who graduate don't want to do jobs. So when you look at the percentage wise in terms of number of students enrolled and number of students got a job, the graph will look skewed. So that's why I'm saying the students who wants job, around 75+% people get a job, because mostly students go for their master's education, most of the students. So placement track record is very good. We have around 3,000 companies which are listed with us, small and big. The maximum salary which a student drawn this year was 28 lakhs as a package. 2 students got it, but again, that is the what to say, a remote case. So you should not get what to say, bogged down or awed by that. because of the 400 students, 2 students got that. So average is around 12 lakhs to 14 lakhs as a package. And almost 75% to 80% of people who want job get a job at MIT Institute of Design.
All right, thank you for that. Uh, there's a question from Shravani who's asking, what do the faculty at MIT look for in a portfolio?
So forget MIT faculty. Anybody who looks at your portfolio wants to look at three things. What is your mindset? What is your skill sets? And what is your attitude? Those are the three things which anybody will look for. We are no different. To be very honest, we are no different. Anybody who looks at a portfolio would like to have these three things. So you have to ensure that these three things get listed in your portfolio. Another important leading question, because we do this quite often, so I'm just taking that as a cue. A 10-page portfolio or a 100-page portfolio. I will say a 5-page portfolio is also sufficient if you are able to showcase the best of your works. So portfolio should be best of your works, not all of your works. So please understand between the difference between best and all. So if you have done a nature drawing, please don't put 20 nature drawings in the portfolio just to show the thickness of the portfolio. If you add one nature drawing is sufficient. One still life is sufficient. One concept is sufficient. One thing which shows different mediums, for example. So they can be a kind of say nature drawing, but you have done it in 3 different mediums. Please put it, because it will show that the way the skill set is for different things. Try to showcase not only the art stuff, try to showcase your thought stuff. So replicating a Amul ad is one very quick thing which many students do. So they find it very interesting to just copy the ad and do it very nicely. They do a very excellent job. So the skill is there, but the thought is not seen. So if you can adopt that and make your own concept, good, bad, ugly, don't worry. But that will have more takers than a nicely copied version. So your thought, not only the skill.
Fantastic. There's a question from Aruna R regarding the twinning programs offered. Right? I think what she's trying to decide is between the regular program and the twinning program.
Yeah.
So she wants to know, can you please let us know how old these programs in MIT Pune are?
How
old are the programs? All right. So I think you mentioned that when did
16,
your program
16
start?
years. 16 years.
All right.
So
Also,
13 batches have passed out. 1-3.
So also, please, if you could provide some examples of career paths of your students who took this program, the twinning program. All right. Yeah.
So to be very, very honest, twinning program was a very strong activity when we were autonomous. So at the moment, twinning program is not very sought after. To be very, very honest. The twinning program, the logic is 2 years you do here and 2 years you do in some other university abroad. So there's no connection between us and that student and that university. So they have mapped whatever we do for 2 years, they're okay with for taking students from us. So that's only a shift of students from here to abroad. That's the only thing which you could look at. At the moment, we are not promoting it that much, to be very honest.
All right. Pavitra is asking, are there any scholarships available?
Yes. So we have scholarship for the bright students. So we don't give scholarship in the first year. The scholarships are offered in the 3rd semester, that is 2nd year, 1st semester, where the applications are sought for people who need and deserve. So need is the financial part and deserve is the intellect part. So this combination is what we give. We have a certain amount fixed. With that, we decide whether we want to give it to more students or a few students with more funding. So scholarship is the discount in fees which we offer. Yes, we have scholarships, and last year almost around 25 to 28 students from the batch got the benefit of that.
All right. The next question I would like to take is from Meena Kumari. All right. Who's asking what is the difference between the four campuses of MIT and on what basis are students allocated to campuses?
Okay.
Because MIT DAT is one common exam for all campuses.
Yeah. So just one clarification. Uh, MIT DAT is for Loni campus and the Ujjain campus. Correct. For the Alandi campus, there is a different exam, and for the Shillong campus, Shillong also is with that. Shillong campus is not started as yet. First batch will be in 2023, so 22, coming August, July, and Alandi campus is 2 years old. You will have to give another exam, which is the Maharashtra State CET, because the Alandi campus is under Pune University. So it has a different entrance exam.
Right. Just to build up on that, are there any stipulated reservations? Like, for example, certain number of seats are reserved for students from Maharashtra only. Is there some kind of
For MIT Loni? Yes, there is it, but it is very flexible, so that it's not restrictive, to be honest. So 60/40 is what the general formula is, but it also adds up to with the category reservations. So because of that, it's quite open. So there's no constraint as such.
So when you say 60/40, you mean 60 is for reserved for students from Maharashtra and 40 is for students from outside state. Okay. Right. Now, Anaya is asking, how many seats are available for product design? I mean, um,
YouTube then.
For getting in, there's no allocation. All 300 entry which we have as a capacity. So we have 300 seats for bachelors. There is no bifurcation whatsoever within product design, graphic design, animation, all these 9 disciplines. There's no.
all right. So at the time of application, do they need to specify an interest or they don't need to specify?
Only fashion and non-fashion is what they specify.
Okay.
So fashion is different, and so the entrance exam also is different for fashion.
All right. There's one question from Chaitanya, who's asking, if I'm born in Maharashtra, and I am Maharashtrian, but have been living in Bangalore for 18 years, which do I come as a Maharashtrian or domicile of Maharashtra or?
Ashley, this is for you.
Yes. See, now, if you are applying as a Maharashtra candidate, we definitely need a domicile certificate. So domicile certificate is mandatory. And if you have not been staying in Mumbai for last 15 years,
Maharashtra, not only
yeah, sorry, Maharashtra, yeah. So domicile certificate is given for the people, those who have been staying in Mumbai for Maharashtra for last 15 years. So that is mandatory. But when you fill the form and if you are applying as a Maharashtra candidate and if you fail to submit the domicile certificate, by default, you will be from like outside Maharashtra candidate. So it gets converted to outside Maharashtra candidate.
All right. So I think it's very important when students are filling up their application form that they
Yes.
follow the instructions
Yes.
carefully, follow the rules, don't bend anything. It is what it is. Please read the document properly before applying is very, very important. Not only for this application, but for any application. That
Yes. Yes.
yeah.
So,
Correct.
one more point to note for students. For MIT ID, I'm not so. As you mentioned that any form you fill, you have to follow the instructions very diligently. Specific to MIT, what happens is the way I'm saying that the entry for all students is same. You don't have to worry about product, graphic, whatever. Only difference in what the entrance exam is for fashion. What generally happens, there are cases, and somehow 3, 4, 5 cases prop up every year. while you select, there's a checkbox, fashion and non-fashion. And there are always some mishaps which happen where students want to do fashion, but since they were told ki, while entering there's no disciplines you have to select, they miss out on that. So for people who are interested in fashion specifically, please check the form very diligently and select your options correctly, fashion and non-fashion.
Yes, correct, sir.
So,
Ashley, you want to
Nilanjana,
add something?
No, nothing, sir.
yeah, Nilanjana is asking a question about the pattern of the exam. How many questions are there? How many sketching based questions? I don't know. We've answered this before. Yeah, but Nilanjana, you'll have to expect the unexpected is the conclusion. All right. Um, right. Now, couple of questions which are very specific to each student. I would prefer to ask more general questions. One of the questions is MIT WPU and MIT ID, are they different?
Yes.
Yeah.
So see, we on paper, legislatively we are different. Our parents are same, so it's a same group, but that four different universities which offer this, five different universities which offer design program. So MIT WPU is World Peace University. ADTU is Art Design and Technology University. So these are two different universities. WPU has a different process for admissions, and the rest have a different process for admissions. So they're different. And after you join one, there is no possibility of shift. मैंने एक साल उज्जैन में कर लिया, then second third year can I do it in Pune or vice versa? It's not possible.
Right. So on those lines, thank you for that clarification. I thought this was a very important question. Thank you. So what we are discussing here is very specifically MIT Institute of Design, which is part of MIT ADT University. Right. So when you're applying, you need to keep this in mind that this is the university we are talking about. The whole talk is centered around this particular
Yeah,
institute.
Avantika, us, Shillong is what we are talking about right now, which has the same admission test that is common for all these three. Okay, dear students, please be aware that you have to specifically, don't be under the impression, there are many mishaps which has happened that मुझे लगा same है इसलिए मैंने WPU का apply नहीं किया. So to be very honest, WPU has a different admission process. Please look into that. Don't be under the impression that when you give the DAT exam, you are eligible for that as well. It is not. Okay. So, and I know it is slightly overbearing or confusing to a point that there are, as you know, there are around 9 design schools in Pune itself, of which 3 are under MIT Institute of Design. So while applying, there are 9 different ways of applications. So please be aware and take that effort to apply it wherever you want to.
Yeah. So this question has come from YouTube from a person called V. So V, very specific for you because this your follow-up question is related to this. So please make sure you follow these instructions. Very important. There's another question from on YouTube from Divij Agarwal, who says, I've given the UC exam. Will I have to give a separate exam for MIT ID? How many seats are there for UC students, UC only students, and what is the last date for registering for MIT ID exam?
Ashley, you want to take it?
Yeah, yes, sir. Now, as we have been discussing about the entrance exam so far, so we have our own entrance exam. So even if you have cleared UC'd, that's good, but then you have to go through our entrance exam.
There is no
And
separate, reservation for UC students.
and the last date is 28th of February to fill up the form.
Right. So only 10 days left.
Yes.
So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be posting the application link again so that you'll apply at the earliest and use the right link for application.
I will just like to respond to a question which Aruna has asked.
Mhm.
So, Aruna, please don't worry about your application which you have done for the training program. When you join, that can be altered. So there's no sacrosanct ki kar diya to. It's not a cast in stone thing for the training program if you might have selected. So don't worry at this point in time.
Right. And there's a final question from Keetana. I think with regard to I'm not very sure which university. So her question is, from which university will we get the degree from? Will it be MIT itself or any other university? I think Kirtana is asking with regard to the twinning program, I think.
I'll answer that. I got the question.
Yeah.
So if you complete your 4 years at a institute, whether it is, so we'll talk about MIT ID Loni campus, Pune campus. If you complete all 4 years of the course on a particular campus, you will get a degree from that particular place. For MIT Institute of Design Loni, the degree will be conferred on by MIT Art, Design and Technology University. If you do the same in WPU, it will be given by World Peace University. If you do it in Ujjain, you will get it from Avantika University. If you do it from Alandi, you will get it from Pune University. And lastly, if you do it from Shillong, you will get it from Shillong University. So these are all different locations, has different universities. For the training program, the training program logic is that 2 years you do here, 2 years you do it with the university you choose from, and you get a degree from that university. The connection of us completely gets delinked. If that answers your question.
Yeah. All right. Final question from Anaya. Is internships part of the design course? If yes, for how long? This question has been answered, but if you could just close with
there is a course requirement, academic requirement of totally 20 credits which you have to complete for internship. So 4 credits as part of the summer internship and 16 credits as part of the graduation semester, which is the 8th semester. So yes, it's a mandatory requirement.
All right, fantastic. So Dr. Nachiket, Mr. Ashley, Mr. Ishwar, thank you so much for patiently listening to us and talking about your school and answering all the questions. I think we've addressed all the questions that have come in. Then thank you for being here and taking the time on. All right.
Wonderful.
We'll be ending this session.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Nachiket sir, thank you very much.